She showed up to my wedding in white. Not off-white, not cream, full bridal white, with rhinestones on the heels and a smile that said she wasn't here to celebrate. She walked in late, gave a speech no one asked for, and hijacked our first dance with a song that belonged to our past. And for a moment, I felt like I was 24 again, apologizing for things I didn't do, shrinking myself so she could shine. But not this time. This time, I took the mic and said exactly what needed to be said. To her, to everyone. And the look on her face? She wished she could disappear. What happened next was rather surprising. I will tell you everything. First, let me thank you for your continuous support. If you love stories like this one, support us by subscribing to this channel and comment where you're watching us from. It will be great to hear from you. Now let's jump into the details of what happened. I never expected her to show up. When the RSVP envelope came back, I held it in my hands like it might burn. Her name was there, written in the same sharp, looping script I used to recognize without even looking. Sabrina Marie Caldwell. +1. I read it 3 times, trying to make sense of it. My fiancée Layla was across the room, laughing with her sister about centerpieces, and I remember thinking, how do I tell her this without ruining her day? Sabrina and I dated for 5 years. That's not a fling, that's an era. She was my first real relationship, the woman I thought I'd marry before I understood what marriage even meant. We met in college, the classic kind of messy, codependent love you mistake for destiny when you're 21 and think arguing at 3 a.m. means you're passionate. She was beautiful, sharp-tongued, and knew how to make you feel like the most important person in the world, until she didn't. Until she flipped, and everything you said became wrong. My whole 20s were a cycle of building and burning down. When we broke up, it wasn't clean. She accused me of emotionally abandoning her. I accused her of twisting my words until I didn't recognize myself. There were screaming matches, texts that felt like landmines, and a few mutual friends who ghosted me because Sabrina was better at painting a sympathetic version of events. I didn't try to defend myself. I just wanted out. Layla came 2 years later. Quiet where Sabrina was loud. Thoughtful where Sabrina was calculating. I remember our third date. We were sitting on my apartment floor, eating takeout Thai, and she told me, "You don't have to try so hard with me. Just be." It wrecked me. I realized I'd spent years performing emotional triage in my last relationship, always scanning the room for signs of a storm. With Layla, there were no storms. Just calm. So yeah, we fell in love. Slowly, like a sunrise. And when I proposed, she said yes with tears in her eyes and both feet grounded firmly in the life we were building together. It was the happiest I'd ever been. Until that damn envelope showed up. I waited 3 days to say something. I watched Layla try on dresses, taste test cakes, and I kept this pit in my stomach the entire time. Finally, one night, I told her. She RSVP'd, I said, handing her the card. Layla blinked. Who? Sabrina. Her face didn't change much, just a small twitch of her left eyebrow. She was on the list? Technically, yeah. We sent one to everyone we thought wouldn't come. You know, out of respect. I didn't think she'd actually show up. Layla sat down on the edge of the bed and exhaled slowly. She RSVP'd. With a +1? I nodded. She gave a dry laugh. Of course she did. We can uninvite her. I offered. But Layla shook her head. No. Let her come. If she wants to see what you look like when you're actually happy, let her watch. I should have known then that this wasn't over. That Sabrina wouldn't be content to just attend. That she'd find a way to leave her fingerprints all over the day, like she always did with everything I tried to build without her. But back then, I still believed in grace. I thought she'd come, sit in the back, and leave quietly. A ghost paying her respects. Turns out, ghosts don't like being forgotten. The whispers started a week before the wedding. My cousin Deshaun texted me. Yo, just saw Sabrina at Brew House bragging about your wedding. I called him. What do you mean bragging? Man, she was telling people she helped make you the man you are. Said Layla should thank her for putting in the hard years. I stared at the wall. You're kidding. Dead serious. She even said something like, I'll be there. Of course. I want to see the final product. Final product. Like I was some piece of furniture she refurbished and gave away. I told Layla about that too. She laughed it off, but I could see it in her eyes. Unease. She said all the right things. That it didn't matter. that we were solid, that nothing Sabrina did could ruin what we had. Still, I started having dreams. Bad ones. In one, Sabrina stood in the middle of the aisle, refusing to sit down. In another, she switched the music to her favorite song right as we were about to kiss. I woke up in cold sweats. Layla started sleeping with her hand on my chest, like she could keep the anxiety from seeping in. And then came the rehearsal dinner. She wasn't invited, but she came anyway. There's a specific kind of silence that falls when someone walks into a room they were never meant to be in. I heard it the second Sabrina stepped through the door of our rehearsal dinner. It wasn't loud, not at first. No gasps, no shouts, just the hush, like the air itself took a breath and held it. I was in the middle of hugging my Aunt Patrice when I caught a flicker of white in my peripheral vision. Not wedding white, but flashy, nightclub white. A body-hugging dress, off-shoulder, with rhinestones down the side. Sabrina always dressed to be seen. Layla's laughter died mid-sentence. Sabrina didn't wait for an invitation. She walked straight into the space like she belonged there, smiling that same smug smile she used to give waiters when she wanted something off-menu. I felt my heart rate spike, not out of love, not even hate, really, but out of dread. The same kind you feel when you realize a car's heading the wrong way down a one-way street. "Wow," she said, scanning the room like she was impressed. "You guys really pulled this together." I moved first. Not Layla, not the wedding planner, not the maid of honor. Me. Because deep down, I knew this was my fire to put out. "Sabrina," I said, keeping my voice even. "This is a private dinner." She tilted her head, mock innocent. "Oh, I know. I wasn't planning to stay. I was just nearby and thought I'd drop in, say hi. You did invite me to the big day, after all. Would have been rude not to acknowledge the rehearsal. You weren't invited here." She waved her hand like I'd just said something silly. "It's not a big deal, is it? I just wanted to wish you luck." Layla stood next to me now, silent. Her jaw was set, her expression unreadable, but I could feel the tension rolling off her in waves. I reached for her hand under the tablecloth, but she didn't take it. Then Sabrina looked at Layla and smiled sweetly. "You must be so excited. Nerves, huh? I remember what that felt like. Weddings are emotional. So much history walking in and out of the room." Layla's voice was calm. Too calm. "We're fine. You can go now." Sabrina raised an eyebrow. "Wow, you're more direct than I expected. I like that. Strong woman." I stepped between them before Layla said something she couldn't take back. "We're having dinner with our families. You should leave." "Oh, I will," Sabrina said. "I just wanted to drop off a little gift." She handed me a small, silver box, wrapped in tissue. I didn't open it. I didn't want to. I set it on the edge of the table like it might bite me. Then she smiled at the room, gave a little wave, and walked right back out the way she came. No one said a word for a full 15 seconds. Then my cousin muttered under his breath, "Is she for real?" Layla didn't say anything for the rest of the night. She picked at her food, forced smiles for her father's toast, but I knew the wheels were turning behind her eyes. I tried to catch her gaze more than once, but she wouldn't meet it. When we got home that night, she sat down on the edge of the bathtub and finally looked at me. "She's not just showing up," Layla said. "She's planning something." "I know. She doesn't want closure. She wants a curtain call. I'll talk to her." "No," she said, cutting me off. "You won't. She doesn't respect you. She never did. If you talk to her, it'll just feed her. She wants to believe this is her story, not ours." I sat down beside her. "So what do we do?" Layla gave a small, bitter laugh. "We let her come. We let her try. And then, we take the mic back." The next few days were a blur of final details. The dress fitting, the flower arrangements, seating charts. But Sabrina was never far from anyone's lips. At the salon, Layla's stylist said she saw Sabrina at a boutique downtown, trying on white dresses. Not off-white, not cream, white. She said she was going to a wedding, the stylist told her, and wanted to make sure she outshined the bride. At the cake tasting pickup, one of the bakery assistants mentioned Sabrina had called, asking about our custom flavor, jasmine lemon, and said she wanted something inspired by it for her own future wedding. The way she said it, you'd think she was getting married the same weekend. She was planting herself in our story like a weed pushing through concrete. Just enough to be annoying. Just enough to be seen. The night before the wedding, Layla turned to me in bed and said, "You're not still in love with her, are you?" I sat up straight. "What?" She looked away. The way she talks, the way she acts. It's like she still thinks you're hers. Like this is all some long, drawn-out competition. I reached over and took her hand. "I'm not in love with her. I haven't been in years. She's a scar, Layla, not a wound. I promise." She nodded, but I could still see it in her eyes. Not doubt in me, but fear. The fear that somehow, this day she dreamed of would be hijacked by someone who had no right to it. That we'd always have to share the stage with someone who should have stayed in the audience. I kissed her forehead. "Whatever she tries to do, I won't let it touch us." But even as I said it, I wasn't sure it was true. Because the thing about chaos is, it only takes a second to spread. And the moment I saw her walk into our wedding venue the next day, wearing a full-length white gown, shiny satin, low-cut back, glittering heels, I knew this wasn't just a coincidence. This was war. I'd always imagined this moment, standing at the altar, breath caught in my throat, watching Layla walk toward me like time had finally done something right. I thought that would be the moment burned into my memory forever. But it wasn't. Because before Layla ever stepped into view, before the music even changed, Sabrina made sure the spotlight swung her way. She arrived 15 minutes after the ceremony was supposed to start. I was standing there in my tailored suit, hands nervously clasped, when I heard the heavy oak doors at the back of the venue creak open. The officiant had just asked everyone to rise, expecting Layla. Instead, a collective murmur rose like static, crawling across the pews. And then, her, Sabrina, in white. Real, unmistakable, bridal white. Floor-length satin with a slit up the thigh, a glittering belt at the waist, and a neckline that dipped just low enough to make my grandmother clutch her pearls. Her hair was in an elegant updo, diamond earrings. And on her face, that same insufferable smile she used when she thought she was winning. A child near the aisle whispered, "Is she the bride?" My uncle cleared his throat loudly, trying to break the silence. Someone else muttered, "Is this a joke?" But no one moved. We were all frozen. Even me. Sabrina strolled down the aisle like it was a runway. She didn't even look at me, just nodded graciously at the guests like royalty at a press conference. She took a seat 2 rows from the front, crossed her legs, and smiled at the altar. That's when the music shifted. Behind the scenes, the wedding coordinator must have realized what had just happened and rushed to fix it, signaling for Layla's walk to begin. But it was too late. Sabrina had stolen the moment. Still, when Layla appeared at the top of the aisle, my breath caught like it was supposed to. She was radiant, dressed in a soft, champagne cream gown that shimmered with delicate embroidery. Her eyes found mine, and she smiled. But I saw it, the flicker, that small crack in her joy. She had seen Sabrina too. She walked slowly, deliberately, like she was reminding everyone whose day this actually was. I wanted to reach for her the moment she got to me, to whisper that I was sorry, that I should have stopped it, that I would fix it. But all I could do was take her hands and hold them tighter than I ever had. We got through the ceremony. Barely. I couldn't tell you what the officiant said. Something about love being patient, something about honor and commitment. My mind was split, half listening, half waiting for Sabrina to do something else. She stayed still, silent, but she never stopped smiling. And every time I glanced out at the crowd, I saw guests shifting uncomfortably, sneaking glances at her dress, whispering behind polite hands. Layla said her vows with poise and strength. I said mine through clenched teeth, terrified that somehow Sabrina would interrupt. But she didn't. She waited. It was at the reception where she made her real move. The venue was gorgeous. Candles, gold accents, a string quartet playing something soft and timeless. The kind of beauty that Layla deserved. We walked in as husband and wife to applause, cheers, the clinking of glasses. And for a moment, I let myself believe we'd made it. Until I saw Sabrina cornering the DJ. I excused myself from Layla. "Just a second, baby," and cut across the room. "Sabrina," I hissed, grabbing her elbow. "What are you doing?" She turned, unfazed. "Just suggesting a song. You're not part of this. You weren't asked to make requests." She blinked at me. "I just thought it'd be sweet to hear something familiar. For old time's sake." I stared at her. "This isn't your moment." She smirked. Maybe not. But it's the only moment you've had that mattered since me. I froze. That's when the DJ's voice came over the mic. And now, folks, for the newlyweds' first dance. Let's give it up for them. The music started, and it wasn't the song Layla and I picked. It was our song, mine and Sabrina's. A slow, aching ballad from a Bon Iver album we used to play on Sunday mornings. The one we slow danced to in my college apartment, barefoot and naive. Layla was already on the dance floor, waiting for me, confused. I saw her realize. I saw her heart drop. People were murmuring again. A few guests recognized it, especially those who knew the history. Some looked uncomfortable. Others just watched. And then Layla looked at me, one hand over her mouth, and whispered, "Why is this playing?" I didn't walk to her. I didn't take her hand. Instead, I turned back toward the DJ booth, grabbed the mic from the stand, and walked to the center of the dance floor. I could feel the shift in the room. Guests silenced their conversations. Cameras lifted. The room felt like it was holding its breath. I smiled, not out of joy, but because I was done pretending. "Thank you all for being here today," I said, voice steady. "It means everything to us to share this with you." I paused, letting the weight settle. But I think it's important to clear the air before we move forward. A few people straightened in their seats. "I know some of you are wondering why a particular song is playing," I said, gesturing lightly toward the speakers. "It's not the one Layla and I chose. It was requested by someone who wanted to remind everyone here of the past." I let my eyes drift, just for a second, to Sabrina. She was frozen. "Now, I don't believe in rewriting history. I've made mistakes. I've had relationships that didn't end well. Some of those people helped shape who I am today, but they are not the reason I'm standing here." More silence. I could feel my voice tightening, but I kept going. "I'm standing here because I chose growth. Because I chose honesty. Because I chose love that doesn't punish me for my flaws, but grows with me. And that love, Layla, is the only person I owe anything to tonight." Sabrina's smile was gone now. Her face was pale. "I'm sorry for the distraction," I said, setting the mic down. "Let's get back to what this day is actually about." I walked back to the DJ booth. "Play our real song." And when the chords hit, that warm, steady melody that Layla and I had danced to in our kitchen, I walked to her, took her hands, and whispered, "I'm sorry. I fixed it." She nodded, eyes glossy. We danced. For real this time. And behind us, Sabrina sat there, silent, still, and no longer smiling. I didn't realize someone had filmed it until the next morning. We were eating brunch on the balcony of our hotel suite, the kind of quiet morning Layla and I had hoped for. Her hair was still a little curled from the night before, and she wore one of my t-shirts, sipping coffee with both hands like the warmth kept her grounded. For a brief moment, I let myself believe we had made it past the storm. Sabrina had embarrassed herself, sure, but we had reclaimed the night. People danced, they laughed, Layla smiled again. But then Layla's phone buzzed. She glanced at it once, frowned, and turned the screen toward me. At Erica Monet. The groom just ethered his ex at the wedding. Had the mic shaking. #wedding shut down, #sure white. The video was already making rounds. Not even 12 hours had passed. By noon, there were 3 versions of the clips circulating on TikTok, each with captions like POV. You try to ruin your ex's wedding and he gives you a public funeral, and she really wore white? I felt my stomach turn. Layla looked amused, not angry, at least not yet. "This what you wanted to go viral for?" she asked, raising a brow. "No," I admitted. "But I can't lie, she asked for it." Layla laughed, but there was no joy behind it. "This is going to blow up." And it did. Within hours, old college friends were texting me, congratulating me on handling it like a legend. My cousin sent me a screenshot of a Reddit thread titled, "AITA for roasting my ex at my own wedding?" The responses were overwhelmingly in my favor. Some called it iconic. Others called it cathartic. But then came the messages from people closer to home. Sabrina's sister, Clara, DM'd me. "She's spiraling. You might have gone too hard," but she needed to hear it. One of our mutual friends, Miles, texted, "Bro, Sabrina is telling people you planned the whole thing to humiliate her. She's saying she was invited to speak." Invited? I nearly threw my phone. Layla leaned over. "Let me guess. She's playing victim now." She's telling people she was part of the program, that we gave her permission to speak. Layla's eyes narrowed. Let me be clear. If she says one more thing, I'm speaking directly to her. Later that afternoon, the text from Sabrina herself started. First one. You really took the low road, huh? I expected better from you. I ignored it. Second one. You embarrassed me in front of everyone. You couldn't just let me be there. Still, I didn't respond. The third one broke me a little. I just wanted to be acknowledged. I'm not the villain you made me out to be. And that right there, was the line. Because the truth is, I never needed her to be a villain. I just needed her to not show up in white, hijack the mic, and play our song like it was some twisted encore performance. But that's the thing about people like Sabrina. They rewrite the story in real time, always casting themselves as the wounded party. What made it worse was the fallout wasn't just digital. It was real, tangible. At the post-wedding brunch, Layla's aunt kept bringing it up to every new person who walked in. I still can't believe she wore that dress. My God, I thought she was the bride. One of Layla's cousins told me that Sabrina had tried to explain herself at the reception. Apparently, she pulled a bridesmaid aside and said, I wasn't trying to cause drama. I just wanted closure. I thought it'd be meaningful. Closure? By wearing a bridal gown? By commandeering the DJ? It wasn't just delusional. It was theatrical narcissism disguised as sentiment. That night, after we packed for the honeymoon, Layla sat down beside me on the couch and said, I'm glad you said something. Really. But I hate that she's still in the center of the story. And that hit me. Because she was right. Even in her humiliation, Sabrina had managed to do what she always did, become the main character. I felt myself clench up. I didn't mean for it to be about her. I just couldn't let her take our moment. Layla looked at me gently. You didn't. But now, we choose what comes next. The next morning, I received one final text from Sabrina. I wish you'd said all that privately. You made me look like a joke. Hope it was worth it. I didn't reply. Not because I didn't have something to say, but because I realized I already had said what needed to be said. Publicly. Directly. Truthfully. She made herself the punchline. I just held up the mic. By the time we landed in Tulum, I thought maybe, just maybe, we had finally outrun the shadow Sabrina had cast over our wedding. Layla was glowing again. Her laughter was unguarded. We spent the first night eating grilled snapper under string lights, sipping cocktails with names we couldn't pronounce, and dancing barefoot in the sand. It felt like our life was starting, uninterrupted, untainted. But that fantasy cracked wide open on the morning of day 3. I missed the call from my mom at first. 2 missed calls. Then a text. Call me ASAP. It's about her. Layla was still asleep when I stepped out onto the balcony and returned the call. My mom answered immediately. She came to the house. I froze. What? Last night. Around 9. Dressed casual, but her eyes were puffy. She looked like she'd been crying. She said she needed to talk to you. Said it was urgent. What did you tell her? I told her you were on your honeymoon, as if she didn't already know. Then I told her she needed to leave before I called someone. Did she go? My mom hesitated. She stood there for a while. Kept saying she just needed closure, that the internet was twisting everything, that you'd understand if you just heard her out. Of course. Of course that's what she'd say. She finally left when I started recording her, my mom said. But honey, she's unraveling. You need to be ready for whatever comes next. I thanked her. Promised to check in again soon. Then just sat there, watching the sun climb over the ocean, the salt air suddenly feeling heavy in my lungs. I didn't tell Layla right away. I wanted to give her this time, even if I couldn't enjoy it fully myself anymore. But then, later that afternoon, Layla's phone buzzed again. This time with a post. A photo of Sabrina sitting on a bench outside a small flower shop. Face down, tissues in hand. The caption? When you try to support someone you loved, and they humiliate you in front of strangers. I didn't deserve that. Hashtag healing, hashtag truth hurts. It had thousands of likes. The comments were mixed. Some called her out. You wore a wedding dress to someone else's wedding, sis. Sit down. Others defended her. He could have talked to you privately. That was savage. Layla stared at the screen for a long time before handing it to me. She's still doing this. I nodded. She came to my mom's house last night. Layla blinked. What? She showed up. Tried to talk her way in. Said she just wanted to speak to me directly. Layla stood, rubbing her temples. So she crashes the rehearsal, the wedding, hijacks our first dance, and now she wants sympathy? For what? Getting caught. I'd never seen Layla so visibly furious. This is exhausting, she said. I'm not even mad that she tried. I'm mad that people are giving her a platform. Like she's the one who needs support. I know. She's weaponizing public pity because she lost control privately. That's what this is. It was true. Sabrina wasn't trying to reconcile. She was trying to reclaim the narrative. So we did the only thing we could do. We posted one photo. A simple image from our wedding day, just Layla and me, in the middle of our first real dance, smiling at each other. No caption. No hashtags. Let the silence say what needed to be said. The comments flooded in within an hour. This is what love looks like. Can't believe anyone would try to ruin this moment. She played herself. You two are goals. We never named her. We never needed to. But she got the message. The next blow came through a third party. Clara, Sabrina's sister, texted me later that night. She's not okay. You were right to draw the line. But if you have it in you, just tell her it's done. She needs that clarity. Layla saw the message when I set my phone down on the nightstand. She's not done until she hears it from you, she said. I already gave my closure speech. In front of 200 people. I know. But this is the part she's holding on to. The silence after. That's what's feeding her. I sighed. You think I should talk to her? Layla looked at me long. I think you should finish it. So I did. I sent Sabrina one final message. My text to Sabrina. There's nothing left to say. You crossed a boundary I didn't think even you would cross. I didn't humiliate you. I told the truth. Publicly, because you forced me to. Closure isn't about getting the last word. It's about accepting the ending. This is mine. She didn't reply. Not that night. Not the next day. Not even after we returned home. But I knew she read it. I could feel the door finally click shut. The last ripple came at a friend's birthday party a few weeks later. A mutual friend, Angela, pulled me aside near the bar. She reached out to me, she said. Tried to explain everything. I didn't buy it. Just thought you should know. I nodded. Thanks for telling me. Angela paused, then added, she's not doing well. But I think she finally understands you're done. I didn't know whether to feel relief or guilt, but I didn't feel sorry. Some endings have to hurt. That's how you know they're real. 2 months had passed since the wedding, and still, I found myself flinching whenever the doorbell rang unexpectedly. Not out of fear, out of memory. There's something unsettling about having your most sacred moments tainted by someone who used to know your heartbeat. Even after Sabrina stopped reaching out, after the DMs and the videos and the passive-aggressive posts all went quiet, I could still feel her presence like an echo in the corners of my life. Not loud, but still there. Until the letter. It arrived on a Thursday. No return address. Just my name in looping cursive on a cream envelope. I stared at it for a long time before opening it. Layla was out running errands, and I didn't mention it to her right away. Not because I was hiding something, but because I needed to read it alone. The handwriting was unmistakably hers. I meant everything I said. But I see now, you meant what you did. That was all. No apology. No grand explanation. Just that one strange line. And yet, for the first time since she showed up at our wedding, I felt peace. Not satisfaction. Not triumph. Just peace. Because that letter, in all its brevity, said more than she probably realized. She understood now. That love doesn't linger in the past like an unpaid debt. That closure isn't about the last word, but about the last boundary. Layla and I settled into married life with a kind of quiet rhythm that felt sacred. There were no grand gestures. Just shared Sunday mornings, groceries unpacked together, long walks around the neighborhood with our dog. No drama. No surprises. Just us. And slowly, the storm faded from people's memory. The video stopped circulating. New wedding gossip took its place. The internet moved on. But every now and then, someone would bring it up. At a dinner party. Or a family gathering. You really handled that with grace, they'd say. Or, that speech? Phew. You said what everyone was thinking. And I'd smile, nod, say something polite. But the truth? I didn't feel like a hero. I felt like a man who had to draw a line in the sand on the most important day of his life just to protect the woman who saved him. That wasn't grace. That was survival. One night, months later, I came across a photo tucked into an old box from college. Me and Sabrina at some themed party, drunk on youth, and the kind of love that feels like fire because you've never known anything else. I looked at it for a long time. Not with longing, not with hate, just with understanding. We were two people who should have never lasted as long as we did. People who mistook chaos for chemistry. I threw the photo away, not out of anger, but because it no longer fit the life I was building. Sometimes people ask me if I'd do it differently, if I'd let her come quietly, ignore the dress, the speech, the song, if I'd just let it slide. And every time, I say the same thing. No, I wouldn't change a thing. Because that moment, when I took the mic, when I looked around that room and claimed my truth, it wasn't about revenge. It was about reclaiming my life, my voice, my peace. And when I looked into Layla's eyes that night, as we danced to our real song, I knew I had chosen the right kind of love this time. The kind that doesn't need to compete with ghosts. If you've ever had to cut ties with someone who made themselves the main character of your story, I hope this reminded you why your peace is worth protecting. Sometimes closure doesn't come from a conversation. It comes from finally drawing the line. If you felt that, share your own moment of reclaiming peace in the comments. Let someone else know they're not alone.